So for this week's discussion post, I wanted to do a video instead because it was easier for me to show what I wanted to talk about rather than type it up. So nonverbal communication, I wanted to talk about my own culture. And then if you know, I am Dominican, that is my cultural background. And we tend to speak a lot with our bodies and the way we say things and how we say it. So reading this week's chapter was very interesting because everything related back to like myself or my mom or my own family. Stood out to me in the chapter this week was on page 158 when it says, while we can stop speaking, it is impossible for us to stop behaving. And it just stood out to me because you would think like, oh, when you're done speaking, that's it. But there's so much more to it. Like, it's impossible to not communicate. Like, even if someone's not even speaking to you, your nonverbal communication is coming across, even if you're in the room. I also wanted to talk about a few of the cue categories that we learned about in the chapter this week and how my culture, my own family does so many of these things. Like, I was sitting down just thinking and it was just a list of things. So first, it was the emblems. I hope I'm saying that right. But that cue category is movements that are easily translated into understanding, you know, like, so there's something that my family does and I've seen other Dominicans do is that, like, I'll ask my mom where is something and she'll point with her lips. She'll be like, she won't say anything. Like, she would just point with her lips. She'll be like, and at first I'm like, Mom, what? Like, say what you want to say. But everyone does that. Like, my uncles do it, my grandmother does it, and I've been to other Dominican households where they do it as well. And it's just something, I guess, from our culture that we just do. It's just easily translated into where they want you to go or look or answering your question. Another one of those emblem cue categories that is so known in our culture and probably in other cultures as well is if you, especially when you're younger and you're like at a family party, you're like, let's say I'm at my uncle's house and I would get in trouble or one of my uncles would call my attention now or something. My mom didn't want to make a show. She would just wait until we get home to make the show. She would just give me this stare. Like, it was this eye stare that was not no regular stare. It was that I knew I was in trouble and I was going to hear it when I got home. And it's been with me, my siblings, all my cousins have been through it. We know this stare. So it's something that's nonverbal that comes across, that, but we know what they mean as soon as that stare hits you. Another cue category that I want to speak about is the illustrators, which is just, you know, movement that reinforces our spoken words. And we do this a lot. Like, we move our bodies and our hands, and there's other cultures obviously that do this as well. But a few things that I know that happens in my family is like our parents would be like, "Tu me tienes hasta aquí," and they'll point like that up to here with us. Está subiendo la sangre, if anyone knows what that means. Another concept I want to talk about that I learned this week in the chapter is paralanguage, which is not what you say exactly, but how you say it. And in my culture, we just have this thing that we just gossip a lot. Like, there's just a lot of gossipers. Like, when I was younger, it was very common to go to the beauty salon and just hear a lot of gossip. And I know that's in other cultures as well. And what I notice a lot too is that people would say things but have an underlying meaning, and you only know when they give you like a sly tilt to the head or their tone of voice changes, or you just know, like, even a long time, they'll be like, wow, you're so strong. They're just trying to say, oh, you gained some weight, you know? So I just know that there's like an underlying message to what they're trying to say. And I know it's not nothing mean, like, it's my neighbors that say this, but it's just how my culture is. Like, that's how it happens. Another concept I want to talk about is pausing. Obviously, everyone just pauses while they normally speak. But in my culture, what I learned, like, especially through my uncles, is that they pause to make things more funnier. Like, especially in jokes, they pause. And with the pausing always comes with a facial expression that makes the joke so much more funnier. And it's so funny that not only my uncles do that, like so many people I know, especially when I go to the Dominican Republic, do this. And it's so funny that the pausing adds more laughter. So I've learned a lot, like I pause a lot as well because I learned this from my uncles, that it just makes it better. I pause a lot to emphasize a point and they pause a lot to make. Another concept I want to talk about is touching or haptics. I hope I'm saying that right. I learned in my culture that we're very touchy, and like the chapter was saying, it depends on the culture on how you are with personal space, and they were speaking about the different kinds of spaces and things. In my culture, I learned that we are very close. Like we like to be very close in our personal spaces, or when we're all together, like we don't like things blocking us so that we can't communicate and things like that. And we're very touchy, we're very huggy and kissy, and hey, how you doing, and oh, and it's very, very touchy. And I know that other people aren't like that. So growing up in a culture like that, I had to notice that I do that, because I didn't notice. I noticed actually when I went off to college when I was 18 that I am in people's personal space, and not every culture is like that. So I have to understand that that comes from us, and not everyone is comfortable with that. Yeah, so for chapter 7 on nonverbal communication, I learned a lot. There was things that I knew already, but it was nice to just get to know it a little bit more and reflect on my own life. And I noticed that my own culture, my own family, and do a lot of these things. As you can see, I just talk a lot with my hands, and I can see that that's just a cultural thing that just became part of me. And that the way that you communicate non-verbally is culturally based. And that was something that I learned myself, just reflecting on my own culture and myself. Thank you.